Hello. Some people have been wondering what should be done about the mass shootings. What would be the best course of action in order to alleviate ourselves of the problem of mass shootings? This is a very important question because we have seen more mass shootings this year than in any other year prior. And we also have presidential candidates like Beto O'Rourke who are insisting that AR-15s and AK-47s be bought up by the government, that no one should be able to own these guns. I'm of the belief that if that were to commence, if Beto O'Rourke were to become president tomorrow and all these buybacks were to occur, I think we'd see a civil war between the government and the citizenry. What that means is I don't think it's the best option to forcefully buy back all these guns because, you're going to get a bloody mess out of that. So what should we do instead? What would be the least harmful way we could, the least excessive amount of harm we could do and, reduce the amount of mass shootings that occur? Some have said we, go into mental health, we do all these other things, or we reduce the number of guns that are on the streets. And my position to that is I don't think it has to do with how many guns we have when it comes to these mass shootings. At least with the mass shootings, I think it's copycat murder. And I believe this because you didn't really have many mass shootings, or you had gun deaths, of course, but you didn't have as many mass shootings in the 80s and 90s. Before Columbine, you didn't have these kind of shootings where it's they shoot 20 people at a time. So how are we going to alleviate ourselves of the problem? And in a way that would only harm those who commit the crime? I think that we should torture those who commit mass shootings. And before you get all scared about before you go on your 8th Amendment and that's cruel and unusual punishment, well, it is, but I don't think that matters. I mean, if the goal is to reduce the amount of mass shootings, I think we should do this. Why should we commit acts of torture against mass shooters? I think we should do so because what these mass shooters go into the shooting prepared to experience is the act of death. They expect to die, whether they die by the police shooting them or they die after 10 years of waiting in a prison where they've been fed 3 meals a day and given shelter. So they're gonna be killed either way. So they expect death. So it's kind of a martyrdom for them to go into the shooting. So we should torture them as a way of deterring them from committing the crime in the first place. We only have to torture a few people, and then I think you'd see way less mass shootings in this country. Because if torture is on the list of things that we could do to these people, then they're why would I spend because it also depends on the torture, how much torture. Is it excessive torture? And I think it should be excessive torture. I think some examples would be the slow removal of fingers and toes, the chipping out of teeth, and I think we need waterboarding. I think we need all sorts of the acts of torture in order to deter this kind of crime. And look, I don't care who's committing it and for whatever reason. I think if you want to reduce mass shootings specifically, you're gonna have to torture these people because they are insane, and the only way they will only respond to acts of violence being done against them. And before you people think before you idiots sympathize with the mass shooters, I just have to tell you that look, these people usually kill 20 people, and death is permanent. So the lives of these scum don't matter at all. They are a net negative on society. So they provide nothing of value. They only destroy life. So therefore, their lives are worth nothing. So yes, I say bring it on. Bring on the torture. Bring on the pain to these scum. Okay, I'm done. I understand if some of you hippies might disagree and think if we only educated them better, if we only eliminated white supremacy and white nationalism and other forms of extremist behavior, then we'd get rid of the mass shooting. I mean, you reduce some of the shootings, but the way to eliminate the shootings would be through torture. That's what I believe. I hope you understand my thought process going into this. Bye.